Kakadosh Boker Tov. We're just continuing with the halachot. Even though we're not going to do the Pirkei Avot, we're just going to prepare for Shavuot. So we know that the entire concept of tonight is the holy day of Shavuot. We had the Shloshet Yemei Hagbala, the 3 days for preparations towards Shavuot, and tonight Bezrat Hashem is going to be Shavuot. We know that it has to be 49 complete days, and therefore since it's 49 complete days, there's actually going to be a machloket between the poskim. Can you even do Arvit early or not? Right? The Rav Ovadia and all the Sfaradim, we are posek that we do not need to do the Arvit early, but the Kiddush, right? We don't need to do it late, but the Kiddush does have to be late, which means that the Kiddush, in order to start the Yom Tov, has to be after nightfall. And that's why it's written in the bulletin. You could check the schedule that you'll be doing after 8:42. You'll be doing Kiddush, but the actual Arvit can be done before nightfall. Even though there are some people which will be machmir that even the Arvit they will do after nightfall. So if you're doing it that way, so what happens is that you do Arvit. Right, we are able to do Mincha and Arvit early. Obviously, we're doing a late Minyan. We're not going to do it a plug. It doesn't make sense if anyway you cannot do Kiddush until 8:42. So therefore, we're doing the late Mincha and Arvit. We're doing Mincha. We're going to do Arvit. Everyone goes home. Right, we will still be finishing even Arvit in order to give you 10-15 minutes to go home, and then you'll be able to say the Kiddush exactly when it's going to be nightfall. So after 8:42, you do Kiddush. Today, remember that since it's going to be Thursday and then Friday towards Shabbat, so therefore we do Eruv Tavshilin. What is Eruv Tavshilin? Right, usually for Pesach, obviously we use the matzah. Here you could use a bread, but just you have to be careful not to use the bread and an egg and not to use it before Shabbat. But if you're going to use the Eruv before Shabbat, so then you cannot use the Eruv in order to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat. Eruv Tavshilin is any single time that you have a Yom Tov coming to Shabbat. Usually you're not allowed to prepare from one Yom Tov to another or from Yom Tov to Shabbat, but through an Eruv Tavshilin, which is basically taking a bread or a matzah and an egg, and what you're doing is you're making the bracha on the Eruv, and you're saying with this Eruv, you are going to be permitted to come, to cook, to prepare, to do light the candles, to do all these things in order from Yom Tov to Shabbat. Now it becomes permitted, and the minhag is brought down in the Rav Enzino Bashaul that usually we will use this bread and egg, usually for either Seudat Shachrit or Seudat Shalishit, which is basically since you already started doing a mitzvah with this bread and this egg, so therefore you're going to continue doing this mitzvah afterwards. There's a mitzvah to purify ourselves before the regel, and therefore since there's a mitzvah to purify ourselves before the regel, we have the concept whether it's going to be the mikveh, right, or the swimming pool, whichever one you want to do, right, you're able to do in order to purify yourselves towards the regel. Everything else basically is going to be just that the minhag is to stay up the entire night on Shavuot, and therefore we're going to be splitting up the Kirayah to two different parts. The ones that want to do the Kirayah all night, if they want, they could also come at 11:30, but if not, they could come from 12 until 5:30, until Shachrit, and they will have enough time to read the entire Kirayah. For those that were not reading the entire night Kirayah, but rather we're doing the majority of it, and only afterwards with the Zohars and the Idras, we're splitting it up, so therefore we will be coming Bezrat Hashem at 11:30. 11:30, everyone's reading also, right, the entire full, whether it's going to be the Tanakh. Once it finishes the Tanakh, right, usually what happens is that we're going to split up the entire Idras, right? We're going to split it up, and then we're going to finish at around, let's say, 1:45. From 1:45 until Shachrit, we have the different, right, shiurim from the different, whether it's going to be also for the children, for the teenagers, and so on and so forth. That's going to be through the nighttime. There is a minhag to finish Tehillim on Shavuot. The reason why is because we know that since David HaMelech passed away on Shabbat and Shavuot, is very similar to this year, right? So therefore, what happens is he passed away during the time of Mincha, of Shabbat and Shavuot, towards the end of the Shabbat, and therefore there was a very big connection between David HaMelech and Shavuot. It's also Megillat Ruth that we read it on the afternoons right before Mincha. That's also because of David HaMelech as well, which David HaMelech came from Ruth, which was Ema Malchut. So therefore that also, right, is going to be connection that's going to be 10 minutes before Mincha every single day. We will be reading Megillat Ruth, because remember we split it up into two different parts. So you have the first half and then the second half, and that's how we're splitting it up, and that's what we're doing right throughout the days. Other than that, obviously it's going to be a Yom Tov, a very special Yom Tov. There's a minhag of having chalavi as well, right? Some people only will have chalavi in the morning after they come back from the Bet Knesset. They'll have milky foods. There's many different reasons brought down in the poskim. Why do we have milky? Other people will actually have a milky meal, right, for the night of Shavuot, and some people will usually have it on the nighttime and not during the daytime, and because of that, some places they actually have whether it's going to be milk or other places on the night of Shavuot throughout the entire night, right? Not only just the ice creams, but other things as well, just because of the concept that since they already ate only milky, so therefore, right, they were able to, even though if you are doing that, try to also have fish or something very, very important other than just milky foods, because that also shows the importance of the Seudah of Yom Tov. And other than that, it's like a regular Yom Tov that we're going to have 2 days. So Shabbat and Yom Tov are coming together. Obviously, when we finish the Chag, it's going to be a regular Havdalah, because whenever it's Motzei Shabbat, you're always going to do regular Havdalah. So even though you usually Motzei Yom Tov, you don't do Besamim and Ner, but this year, since it comes out Motzei Shabbat as well, so there is going to be Besamim, you're going to do Besamim and Borei Meorei Ha'esh as well. So this is all the different things. And then the minhag is that usually always Motzei Shavuot was when we did Birkat Levana. This year it's a double whammer. You've got Motzei Shavuot plus Motzei Shabbat. So therefore we do Be'ezrat Hashem. Hopefully it won't be cloudy, and we'll be able to do Birkat Levana right after the Shabbat, Motzei Shabbat and Motzei Yom Tov, Be'ezrat Hashem, coming up.